Mailbag time here on today's show. We're going to talk about all the latest on Shaq Leonard and whether or not it makes sense for the Browns to go out and sign him because pretty good timing as Mike Honcho asked, should the Browns sign Shaq Leonard? So let's talk a little bit about Shaq Leonard and whether or not it's a good fit for Cleveland to go out and sign him. Over the last 4 seasons, Shaq Leonard has missed some time over the last 2 years. This year, he's only playing 70% of the defensive snaps, and he has not been the explosive playmaker that he was to start his NFL career. I mean, we can look at Shaq Leonard's numbers side by side, his first 4 years and now the last 2 years, and look at the numbers. I mean, we have to recognize Shaq Leonard's start of his NFL career as one of the best linebacker starts anyone has ever had. 15 sacks. I mean, there are edge rushers that would love to have 15 sacks over that stretch. And he's doing it as an off-ball linebacker. 11 interceptions. There are great DBs who don't get to 11 interceptions in their NFL career. 17 forced fumbles. I mean, we have never seen an off-ball linebacker be such a dynamic playmaker like we saw out of Shaquille Leonard or Darius Leonard at the time to open up their NFL careers. However, the injury bug is real. And sadly, it robbed us of Shaq Leonard's greatness for the last 2 years. And I think there are some serious concerns in Indianapolis that Shaq Leonard will never be able to get back to the player he was before the injuries he sustained because they were serious injuries. Now, let's talk about the Browns for a moment and whether or not Cleveland would make sense as a suitor for Shaq Leonard. Well, they're kind of good-ish at linebacker, right? Like, of course, if we're talking all-pro Shaq Leonard, 3-time all-pro guy, yeah, he's better than Taki. He's better than Anthony Walker. But right now, we haven't seen that all-pro guy in a little bit. And Anthony Walker and JOK both play about 65 to 70% of snaps. Taki plays a little bit under 50% of snaps. So Jim Schwartz runs a 2-linebacker system for the most part. Now, that could change now that Rodney McLeod is out for the season. So maybe he goes to a more typical 3-linebacker set. And if that's the case, yeah, I would say JOK, Anthony Walker, and Shaq Leonard are 3 better linebackers than JOK, Walker, and Taki. Although with a defense like this that is kicking ass and is the number 1 defense in the NFL, I don't know how receptive the locker room would be to, hey, I know you guys are balling out right now and you're doing everything great, but we're going to switch it up a little bit, right? That's kind of like that one of the final scenes in Miracle or one of the final, towards the end of the movie when Herb Brooks brings in that extra skater and they're like, Herb, we're a family. You can't do that to us. I'm not quite sure how the locker room would react. Now, I'm sure Anthony Walker would be pretty happy with it. Him and Darius Shaquille Leonard go back to their time in Indianapolis together. And I brought up an old tweet of Shaq Leonard's from March of 2021 when Walker signed with the Browns in free agency. And Darius Shaquille Leonard tweeted out, amazing player, man. He does everything the right way. It sucks that he's leaving, but Cleveland is gaining a dog. He's a great leader, and he's going to lead your defense to be great. I will truly miss him. I give him a lot of credit for my success. I wouldn't be me without him. Does he have every single sentence with an exclamation point? He's one of those guys. He's just a really happy dude. But yes, there is clearly the connection between, get Walker and Leonard back on the field together. They were great together in Indianapolis. Walker's only gotten better since then. If you can get old Shaq Leonard back with Anthony Walker, that could be a great duo. The Browns need a playmaker at linebacker, like a guy that can generate turnovers. That's sort of the one missing element of this linebacker room. JOK, Walker, Taki, none of them have a real knack for the football outside of a random interception or forced fumble here or there. But whose snaps is he going to take? Because I'm not sure you're getting that 2019, 2020 all-pro player. You might be getting a guy that's just a good linebacker, but does he want to come and play for a Browns team where he might not be a starter? If so, sure. Like Anthony Walker, week to week with a hamstring injury, that could be a quick, plug in and keep it moving without missing a beat here. But if everyone is healthy, I'm not quite sure where Leonard fits into this defense unless the Browns truly want to run a 3-linebacker set and have Leonard be where Taki was as an outside linebacker. So let me know. Should the Browns add Shaq Leonard? Yes or no? Give me your honest opinion down below in the comment section. I don't think the fit is great with Cleveland because they're pretty good at linebacker, and this defense is incredible already. So I'm not sure how receptive everyone would be to making a big change like that. But having an all-pro player on the street who's not washed or he's not old in November, that does not happen every year. So it might be tough to pass on that. Now, what you guys should not pass on is Prize Picks. Thanks to Prize Picks, I've had some of the most fun watching football, winning up to 25 times my money this season. And now you can play with me during basketball season as well. We all know there could be some absolute stinkers of primetime matchups. So if you are brave enough to watch Jets Dolphins on Black Friday, well, how about you check out Prize Picks in the process? Here are my selections for Turkey Day. I'm taking the more on all 3 running backs in each of the games. Christian McCaffrey, more than just half a yard. Just need to gain 1 yard, and we got that done. Jahmyr Gibbs, more than 79.5 rushing and receiving yards combined. I like Tony Pollard's more. I think they're running the ball a little bit more in Dallas now than they were earlier in the year. And I like the more on Brandon Ayuk and DK Metcalf for half a touchdown. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. The link for that is in the comments and description of today's video. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy. Getting on to the rest of the questions on today's show, Joshua Miller with a $5 super chat. If the Browns make the playoffs without Deshaun Watson, Nick Chubb, Jack Conklin, and a makeshift tackle room, should Coach Stefanski win Coach of the Year? I think in Cleveland, he would definitely get a lot of votes for that. However, from the national media, they're not going to look at the Browns team that went through all that. They're just going to look at the final record. And they're going to see a Browns team that won maybe 10 or 11 games. And that's not going to be as impressive as a Texans team that might make the playoffs with DeMeco Ryans in year 1 and a rookie quarterback. Or Dan Campbell, who took the Detroit Lions to the top of the division and maybe even a 1 or 2 seed over in the NFC. Unfortunately, there's a little bit of politics that go into all these voting. And I don't think that hurdles and adversity that teams face really factors into the voting as much as it should. It's more about the end product and the ultimate record at the end of the year. James Harper, first-time super chatter with a question. I believe the Browns will choose DTR to start the rest of the season until playoffs. By that time, if he's not doing much better than he is now, they will use Flacco. I don't believe the Browns signed Joe Flacco to be a mentor. I believe they signed Joe Flacco because they do not want to risk the rest of the year on a rookie quarterback. Now, they're going to give DTR the start on Sunday in Denver. And if things don't go well, they might give him another start in LA. But if DTR comes back to Cleveland after this 2-game road trip, not smelling super good, I think we could see Joe Flacco as soon as the first home game against Jacksonville and possibly already in LA. But I do not believe Joe Flacco was signed to be a mentor. However, I do believe that DTR will get the start. He's getting the start in Denver, and he's going to get a little bit of a benefit of the doubt, a little bit of a longer leash. But the Browns are not going to let the season go down the drain, watching DTR waste a really good year and a really good defense if Joe Flacco is sitting on the bench. But pick a quarterback for me, DTR or Joe Flacco. I'm going to roll with DTR. I don't think Joe Flacco is the elite quarterback that he once was, if he ever was one. But for now, I'll stick with DTR. However, I would not be quick to pull the plug. Miami Mac, what's going on? Or I would be quick to pull the plug. You think Stefanski is back in the Coach of the Year award convo? Like I was just saying earlier, I feel like Coach of the Year award really comes down to teams that had low expectations that dramatically exceeded expectations, right? If we go back to the previous Coach of the Year awards, last year, Brian Daboll and the New York Giants, low expectations, okay? Year before that, I can't remember. But we had Matt Nagy win it in 2018. Oh, year before that, no, Stefanski win in 2020. Like, there's a trend of coaches that win Coach of the Year. It's teams with really low expectations. Who won Coach of the Year? We had Vrabel. Okay, right. Tennessee Titans, and then Stefanski, and then Harbaugh, and then Nagy. So we have 2 types of Coach of the Year winners. You've got coaches of teams that have rock bottom expectations that go to the playoffs. That's not the Browns this year. Then you have coaches like Vrabel, which are good teams that come out of nowhere and win the 1 seed like the Titans, like the Ravens did. The Browns aren't really one of those two teams. They're not probably going to win the 1 seed, and they're not a team that had low expectations this year, in my opinion. So unfortunately, it doesn't matter what adversity that Stefanski coached through. Guys voting in California and Texas and New York, they don't know it like we do, and they're not going to look at that. They're going to look at D'Amico Ryans and Dan Campbell. We have ECO HD. I hope I pronounced it right this time. I worry Joe Flacco has loyalty to the Dirty Birds. It might sell us out in a huge playoff game. Hate that signing. Dude, I don't know. Like, I don't think that's a crazy thought because it's not like Joe Flacco is playing for another contract. He's done. Like, this is probably the last time he's ever going to lace them up. So if he really wants to stick it to the Browns one last time, sure. However, I don't know how much he loves the Ravens after their departure and the way they went to Lamar. So he might not feel like he has to be a double agent. I would hope that's not going to be a factor. I would hope that once he's in this locker room and they're in the playoffs, vibes are high, people are happy, and he's going to want to win with this team, and he's going to want to win another Super Bowl before throwing intentional interceptions. But, man, you just planted this in my head, and now I'm a little nervous. Little Beam, next one up. James Hudson has not been very good and gets too many penalties put on him. Personally, I would like to put Christian at left tackle and DeJuan Jones at right tackle. Yeah, that's absolutely the plan. Like, once DeJuan Jones is healthy enough to play a whole game, that is the starting lineup until Jed Wills can return. So James Hudson, unfortunately, as a swing tackle, played just enough before this year to say, like, oh, he could be a good swing tackle. And now he's playing a little bit too much. We go, like, I don't like him as a swing tackle anymore. So I agree. Once DeJuan Jones is healthy enough to play first, second, third, and fourth down, he will be back at right tackle, and Christian will stay at left tackle until Jed Wills comes off of IR. Now, off the wall question. Who was the Browns quarterback when you first became a fan? Right now, vibes are high, a little bit tense still, knowing that there's no Deshaun Watson. So just taking a little bit of a breather here and not asking a hard-hitting question. Just who was the Browns quarterback when you first became a fan? Jersey Dog, next one up on the show. How concerned should we be that a team might try to grab Jim Schwartz as their head coach? How many teams are lining up to get defensive coordinators who are, I mean, can you Google how old Jim Schwartz is? I think he's 57. He might even be older. Like, I don't know if there's a long list of teams that want to hire 57-year-old defensive coordinators who would be on their second head coaching stint. That might be a pretty short list. In fact, I think it's really important to look at what teams are going to be hiring, right? The Bears are going to be hiring. The Bears want to run it back with a second straight DC? Probably not, okay? The Raiders are going to be hiring. Do they want to run it with the DC? Maybe, but maybe not. So I don't think that the Browns are going to be in any sort of jeopardy of losing Jim Schwartz or any real big jeopardy. I think there are some old DCs out there who are happy just being a defensive coordinator and for a living destroying quarterbacks. Jack, next one up on the show. Do you think the Browns should open up the playbook for DTR and see if he is going to be the guy for the rest of the year? I mean, we can pull up DTR's passing chart from the win against Pittsburgh, and DTR never threw the ball more than 15 yards down the field. I mean, that's the 20-yard mark, that white line, and he never got past 15, 16 yards max. So I sure hope they at least ask him to throw an incomplete pass 20 yards down the field. Otherwise, as a safety, why would I ever line up more than 15 yards off the line of scrimmage, right? There's nothing that's going to go behind me. If so, DTR and the Browns do not open up a little bit more of a vertical passing attack in his, I would say, second true start, but third technical start, then we might have a serious issue on Sunday because Denver's defense is just going to crowd the line of scrimmage. Jack, I appreciate your question. I appreciate all the questions we got on today's mailbag. If you enjoyed our content, go ahead and subscribe. Help us grow as a channel. I'm trying to reach 30,000 subscribers before Christmas. It would be the best present I could get. So if you want some free Browns content in your life, go ahead and hit that sub button.